the On the Mark Wrestling Podcast.
Go for it, Jim! Climb the ladder, kid! Make yourself famous!
A podcast covering all things WWE.
I have now returned to save the WWE.
NXT.
The beautiful part of NXT is that when one dream ends, another dream begins.
And AEW.
Holy wrestling. I couldn't be more happy.
Here are your hosts, Kyle Gagliardi and Jim Tucker.
What is going on, everyone? You're listening to the On the Mark Wrestling Podcast, hosted by the Marks, for the Marks, and I am your host, Mr. OTM, Kyle Gagliardi. And my co-host this evening is not my good friend Jim Tucker. He is unfortunately missing this week's show. Hopefully he'll be back next week, but I am joined by the full-timer, Happy Ian. Ian, what's going on, dog?
What's going on, man? There's a lot of things going on in the OTM and main event world, which we will discuss, I'm sure, here in a second. But a lot of things happened this weekend in the wrestling world as well, and through this week, and I'm ready to talk about it. I am exhausted, but I am here, and I am ready to go.
Yeah, and once again, we are starting an hour earlier for those that do listen and watch live. The Bears play. We live in the Chicagoland area. We don't really care. We just want to watch the Bears game. It really doesn't even matter because if they win or they lose, they get the Panthers pick no matter what.
Well, okay, let's be honest here. You're a Packers fan. I'm a Bears fan. So I care somewhat. Just
You don't care.
I don't, but I do, because I would like one Chicago team to actually be good. But anyway, I'm getting off topic here.
Hey, I'll tell you what, the Blackhawks could be good eventually, and maybe even your Cubs if they make the right moves. But that was talking sports, you know. We can talk about sports on another time. We're here to talk professional wrestling, and it looks like the very first comment is coming from Kind, the former MVM. Obviously, Tino came in last week, took that MVM, and if you don't know what the MVM is, it is the most valuable mark. We award that to a person that tunes in live, interacts with us, gives us the best quality comments each and every episode. And that was Tino last week. I know we didn't have a lot of people watching live last week, probably because we started an hour early, but nonetheless, Tino earned it last week, didn't he?
He did. He was front to back. Actually, no, he was a little late in to come in, but when he did, he had some good comments and kept the conversation going, which if you want to win the MVM, that's how you get it. It's not just posting hi or how are you doing? It's you got to spark some conversation. Once we start talking about what you talk about, that's when you're getting the MVM points.
That's right. We do appreciate you asking how we're doing because we do care how our listeners are doing as well. I don't want that to sound rude. Kind is a part of our Discord, so we appreciate him a lot. If you're a part of the Discord, you're obviously a day one kind of person, so shout out to Kind for tuning in. But don't forget, people, we have some fantastic new and exciting merchandise available right now at the OnTheMarkWrestlingPodcast.com. Ian, why don't you tell them a few of those items that we have available right now?
Yeah, so right now it's getting into the festive season, getting a little wintry outside, Christmas season just around the corner. And what happens during Christmas season is Christmas parties. Ugly sweaters, you need them, and we got them. We have an OTM ugly sweater. Got the OTM logo right in the front. It's a long sleeve. It's available in a long sleeve, and I believe a crew neck.
Crew neck, and it is a comfy crew neck, Ian. Let me tell you, I know I forgot to give it to you last weekend, but you're going to get it soon.
I know. I have ordered two. That is the first merch I've ordered in about a year because I'm a poor boy. But I had to get. You
do have the honorary Mark T-shirt, though, don't you?
I do. Yes, but we also have the honorary Mark shirt. Obviously, we know the honorary Oos shirt that came out on the Mark, all in yellow, black, and gold, and we got now a beanie with the big old poof ball on the top with the OTM logo right in the front. Keep your head warm.
You can kind of see it vaguely. The OTM logo is right where my finger is at, right behind me. It's on my loose figure display over here, but I got myself one, and you can too. Just visit the OnTheMarkWrestlingPodcast.com. All proceeds that we make from our merchandise site go directly towards the show. And you talked about exciting things going on within the OTM and Main Event Wrestling Network. We are a part, obviously, of the Main Event Wrestling Network, which is finally starting to grow a little bit. Ian, you want to tell us a little bit on what's going on at the network?
Yeah, so right now we have our blog site. We have a brand new blog site. Nothing has been posted yet, but stay tuned because we got a couple of guys that are in the works that have reached out and are looking to just kind of get their creative juices flowing and just talk about pro wrestling. And again, if you want to be a part of the Main Event Network and you could type and want to talk about wrestling but don't want to be on camera, blogging is perfect. All you have to do is type a little bit.
I was just going to add, even if you don't feel comfortable with your grammar skills and you need somebody to proofread, we can find somebody for you and you can still write for us.
That is true. But also, not just that, we have some more YouTube content coming. Got off the phone. We worked out a deal this morning, actually. Mr. Tim Vicious with the Vicious Rants will be posting his content to the OTSN. Not OTSN.
Not OTSN. OTSN's dead.
The Main Event Network YouTube page as well, and you'll be able to follow him every single week. And again, it's just we're trying to post more content as much as possible, and just trying to enjoy the world of pro wrestling. And yeah, again, if you want to reach out, we say it every single week. Just reach out. That's all it takes.
Yeah, and also welcome to TGBH. He reached out. He's going to be blogging for us, and keep your eye out for Scotty Beams. I think he's working on an ECW-related blog that should be available tomorrow. So make sure you're following us. You saw the Twitter handle on your screen, at mainevent_net, so you do not miss out on any of that content. And speaking of Main Event Net, Robbie Collins of the Main Event Network checking in. He said, hello, lads. Hello to you, Robbie. And Mikey is correct. Mikey Wilson in the house. He said he is talking about me with the proofreading. And he says taking in the... So this is what I'm talking about, Ian. You see what I had to deal with there?
Ugh, can't book it better. Damn.
Yeah, hopefully we'll see some more Book It Better from Mikey Wilson. But Ian,
yes.
Crown Jewel happened this past weekend. Did you get to watch it live?
I did. Near the end of the show, though, I don't know if you also had the same exact feeling. I kind of felt a little tired from the show. I mean, it was a day show, which you have the noon kind of I want to take a nap kind of thing on a weekend. That's just me. That probably is just me. But near the end of the show, I think the show started off so hot to the point that it was everything in between the opener and the main event, it just kind of felt like it dragged on. But that's just me. It could be just me.
I understand where you're coming from, but I don't think that's a WWE fault. I think that's more indicative of the way the crowd reacted to certain matches. We know in Saudi Arabia, the whole women's movement is relatively new to their culture, and I still don't think they've embraced it as a whole, because it seems like every time they put women's matches on the card, the crowd kind of dies. And that might have killed the mood a little bit for you. Maybe it's the start at noon, but overall, I had a good time watching it. So let's get right into it and go to the first match that kicked off Crown Jewel, and it was the World Heavyweight Championship match, as Seth Rollins successfully retained his title by defeating Drew McIntyre in what was a very competitive matchup, might I say. Now, after watching these two go, Ian, I'm pretty convinced now that these two are incapable of having a bad match. I thought this was the perfect contest to kick off Crown Jewel.
It's hard to miss because you really have a story that's been told without you really having it being told to you. I mean, you have Drew McIntyre going through his kind of limbo of what he wants to do in his career. I mean, there were talks about him retiring and being done with the WWE. I mean, that was 6 months ago or something around there.
There was even rumors of him potentially going to AEW and headlining Wembley Stadium.
Right, so there's trouble. I mean, obviously, we don't know if that's actually true, but he's had some faults he's won his title. He's won the title, but that was during quarantine. And that whole storyline, it just writes itself, and it really ties with the people that are watching, because we all experienced it during the quarantine. There were no fans, and now Drew just wants to win a title. Yeah. And now he has the big chance, and he chokes it. That's really all it is.
And there's a story to come out of that. And I know a lot of people might be a little frustrated that Seth Rollins is still champion. Hell, I might be one of those people. I thought putting the title on Drew might have been a good decision. But it's kind of a wait-and-see kind of thing for me, Ian, because I feel like there's a bigger story to be told of the evolution of Drew McIntyre's potential new character. Do you see him potentially leaning into more of that heel side going forward?
I think he has to. I mean, how many times, Clash at the Castle, we've seen this. We've seen Drew get to the cusp and never actually gain the title. Obviously, the people have heard. I mean, they're even saying in their promos that people are tired of Seth Rollins. They're Drew has said it as well. You know, he's telling him, Seth Rollins, to go and figure yourself out, make a new character like he's always done. And I really do think it's time for Drew to do that, because it's kind of growing stale. But I think WWE creative knows that we think that.
Yeah, they're definitely aware of how the IWC feels about Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre right now, and I think they're just waiting and letting the story develop a little bit more. But in this match, both men kicked out of each other's finishers as they were working towards that finish. It took a super kick, a pedigree, and a stomp for Rollins to finally keep Drew down for that 3 count to end a fantastic match. And of course, after that match, Damian Priest would try to cash in. The crowd gets very excited. Hell, I was at the edge of my seat. But Sami Zayn wasn't having any of that as he stole the briefcase and ran away. Now, we talked about it last week, Ian, in the preview show, the possibility of Damian Priest cashing in. Were you surprised to see Sami Zayn stand up for Seth Rollins and defend that briefcase from being cashed in?
Not necessarily. What I was more surprised with was this past Raw and his explanation on why he did so. It kind of felt a little weird. I mean, it was him fighting for the greater good kind of thing, and fighting. It's fight against authoritative figures.
Yeah,
and we've seen that before with Stone Cold, and I appreciate that story, but that kind of storyline. But it's weird with Sami Zayn because we've never really seen that from him.
Yeah, and obviously Sami Zayn got that title opportunity Monday night and was unsuccessful. I believe it was a roll-up by Seth Rollins where he gets the win, but we will talk about that a little bit more as it goes on when we talk about the potential Survivor Series matchups that we could be seeing. But let me run into Ryan Matthews' comment here. He said, tuning in live on a South Shore train en route to Soldier Field. I'm so ready to be disappointed. We were talking about the Bears, and it looks like Ryan is on his way to the Bears game.
Ryan, I'm just saying, I don't think there's a way to be disappointed when you know you're going to lose. So,
actually, you're going to win no matter what, like we talked about.
Oh, well, yeah.
You got the picks, brother. But overall, what did you think of the match? I thought it was very strong.
It was the best part about it. It was so simple, but it was amazing. It was incredible. It's just the 2 finishers. I think that's really what makes a good character, in the fact that either of those finishers, the curb stomp and the Claymore, can be hit at any time. And you were just kind of expecting that with Drew to hit a Claymore. And he missed about, 3 times or so?
I think so, yeah.
And the best part about it was, he's getting irritated as the match went on. And I thought they played that perfectly. Drew McIntyre was showing it with his facials. He was showing it with the moves he was hitting. He started getting more brutal as the match went on. And I genuinely was, the only thing I was really surprised about with this match was the end of it. I thought Drew was going to snap. I mean, in the heat of the moment.
You talked about facials too. I think Drew McIntyre might be one of the best at expressing himself with the facials in a match, because that dude is a complete badass and he's a believable character. And I think Rollins and Drew just worked that WWE style of match so well that's why it looks so smooth to you, because these guys are just 2 of the best in the business right now. But for Drew McIntyre, it looks like he's on a spiral of sorts, so we'll see what happens next with him. But for me, I thought that was the match of the night. Was this your match of the night as well?
It's a if anything, it's a close tie for first, and we'll get to that match when we get there.
I think I know what match you're talking about, because I did enjoy another match on this card almost as much as this one. But kind of said, I just feel like Seth's whole reign has been disappointing. The way his feuds so far have not lived up to expectations, in his opinion. The Shinsuke feud was boring, and this Drew one can cook, but so far not that good, in his opinion. Would you agree with Kine here?
I kind of. I think when they gave him the title,
okay. I'll see my
new
way
character.
out.
Put it down. Yeah. No, it's just when they gave Seth the title, it kind of felt like a complimentary prize. We talked about that. It was the second world title, and that was because he's been a workhorse. At the time, he was the guy that was wrestling almost every single week, every single night, house shows every single night. And I feel like that title has just gotten him this far. And you have the walkout entrance, you have the song, and we just haven't seen much else of his character besides the fact that his back hurts, and he'll fight through it. Yeah. So I understand that to a point. The only thing I completely agree with is the Shinsuke. That was a flop. I don't know what went wrong.
It was for me as well.
I don't know what went wrong. I felt like they had something with Shinsuke, but we'll still see.
Yeah. Let's go to Mikey Wilson. He said Drew should have won. Damian should have cashed in to build to War Games. Judgment Day and JD versus Seth, Drew, Sammy, Cody, and Jay. And we're obviously getting that match anyways, but that could have been a good lead into it as well. And who knows, maybe this is all set up for the cash-in to happen inside of War Games. You never truly know.
Oh.
That is a possibility, whether it's before the match or after the match. What if they're the first two in the ring? What if you start off with Damian Priest and Seth Rollins?
No. Hear me out. They are the last two standing. Damian Priest looks at the ref as they are both down, hands him the briefcase, and says, now this is for the title. It is a one-on-one to end War Games for the title. I think that's perfect.
Honestly, that's something. Or you have JD McDonough throw it in. JD McDonough just tosses it into the War Games after being eliminated because he's always been, just the guy.
Right.
He's the hitman, actually, I guess you could say.
Can I ask you? I want to get your opinion on JD McDonough. And do you see him working with the Judgment Day? Because I have my opinions. I just want to hear yours. I
think he's definitely committed to the Judgment Day. I don't see him turning of any sort. Why do you?
It's just at some point I see the opinion of like he's trying too hard to try to fit in, if that makes any sense. But I mean,
I get it.
That's kind of the point of it. But anyways,
I do think that's the point of it. Yeah,
I think he just needs some appreciation for what he's been doing because I think his in-ring work has been phenomenal.
Dude, his selling might be the best in the WWE. It might be the best in wrestling.
Yeah, Dolph Ziggler-esque.
Yeah, very much so. Kind said, it's more because I know the reign can be so much better. That's why it's not been as good as he hoped. That makes sense, Kind. I get where you're coming from. Mikey Wilson then says, Judgment Day wins with a Drew heel turn on Cody, then give me that feud. Also a possibility. Dirk Vogus in the house stopping by. He says, go Bears. Sure, Dirk, you can have this one. I don't really care. Kind said, Kyle, that is an unbelievable idea. Cash in during War Games would be so good. JD could just get eliminated, then find a way to get the briefcase in, and Damian cash it in. So Kind's getting what we're putting down here. So if that happens, people, OTM told
said it here first. WWE, pay us.
Yeah. So let's move on. Rhea Ripley retained in that Fatal 5-Way. I actually enjoyed this match a little bit more than I thought I was going to, but I really don't have much else to say after that. What about you?
We were texting during this match, and it felt weird to me. It kind of felt like one of those spot fest matches, which usually I'm a huge fan of. But there were times where it just kind of felt forced. And I thought the best part about it was the finish. I loved the finish. I think it was Rhea hitting, was it Zoe off the top rope with a riptide?
That sounds about right. Yeah.
I think onto two other women on the mat. And I thought that was a cool finish. It was kind of smart. But it just felt clunky to me.
I don't know if clunky is the word. I think choreographed might be a better way of wording it. I think there was definitely intentional spots here and there, but that's what you're going to get in most Fatal 4-Ways, Fatal 5-Ways. Hell, you even watch that match on Raw with The Miz, Ricochet, and all those guys. It was kind of choreographed as well, but that's just how that format is, I would say. But Rhea Ripley retains. We'll talk about her opponent at Survivor Series towards the end of the show, but let's move on to this match, which has a lot of people talking for a lot of reasons. And Solo Sikoa successfully defeated John Cena by the way of what seemed to be 100 Samoan spikes, maybe even more. But this one was obviously a much slower paced match, and it was booked to make Solo look like a monster. And I'd say they successfully achieved that. But now there's all sorts of speculation going on, especially with the Hollywood strike being over, Ian, that this may be it for the GOAT John Cena. And I think you might be agreeing with that sentiment because you texted me during this match.
Yeah, after the match. Just want to say real quick about the match before I talk about Cena. Solo, this was executed perfectly. I felt awkward during the amount of spikes he hit with Cena. It felt awkward. And I didn't want to watch anymore.
In a good way.
In a good way, yeah. It was like it was
seeing your old dog get put down.
Right. It was weird. Yeah. It was exactly that. Yeah.
It
was like taking the dog to the back shed, which was it was rough. But anyways, so yeah, Cena. He's one of those guys where I wouldn't be surprised if it's kind of like a Stone Cold where he retired in that last match. It was against his last match would have been against The Rock, correct, at WrestleMania.
I'm not 100% sure. Like I said, I only started watching since 2011.
I believe that was his retirement match, but it was unofficial, and he walked out. He was done with the company by then. And I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case with Cena. Sadly. Do
you really think they're going to end John Cena's career in Saudi Arabia?
I don't think about it like that. They really boosted Crown Jewel to be a great pay-per-view, and I thought it was a really good pay-per-view. I don't see it as it was the pay-per-view in Saudi Arabia. I just kind of saw it as it was Crown Jewel. It's a new pay-per-view that they're really trying to get around to be a yearly event.
Yeah.
And maybe that's one of the reasons for Cena possibly retiring at this event. It could be brought up later on. But again, that's just speaking in one side. But I could completely see the other side in Cena he's wanting to retire at WrestleMania by maybe winning or putting somebody else over. But it just felt like too much of let's put a new and up-and-coming guy over on your way out. And it was perfect. It worked out perfectly. If they actually retired Cena, Solo is going to be the biggest heel in wrestling.
He's a made man. And before I pull up Kyne's comment, for all those people over the years, the John Cena haters, John Cena buries so-and-so, John Cena puts nobody over. Fuck you. Look at the last 5 years of John Cena's career. Granted, he's not a full-timer. He's not wrestling all the time. But when he's come back, he's just elevated every single talent, trying to put people over, build the future. That's what greats do towards the end of their careers. They realize this stuff. Chris Jericho's doing similar things in AEW right now. Mm-hmm. I would say that the time frame for Chris Jericho and John Cena is about the same. We only got a couple more years. So that's why this moment, the ending, the applause that John Cena got felt so big and emotional. And like you said, the ending of the match, a little awkward of sorts because of how much domination happened in that match from Solo Sikoa. I just wanted to get that out. I get a little mad when people hate on John Cena. You see me wearing my John Cena shirt. He's my GOAT. I got to defend him. I'm sorry.
Well, I got to say, Busted Open, I say it every single week. They're trying to debate on who's the GOAT between Ric Flair and John Cena. Go ahead.
I already know I listen to Busted Open too. You got to stop putting over other podcasts, all right? They don't need to be put over enough. I know what they were talking about. And then Dave LaGreca's wrong. I don't give a fuck. Kyne said, I'm seeing people complain about Cena losing, but it's so good for Solo, and they've made him look like a beast now, which is their idea for him. A perfectly made plan that's been beautifully done. So now that Solo Sikoa has beaten John Cena, I'm curious on what's the next step. Where does he go in all this? Is it LA Knight maybe? Because we saw them kind of tease that a little bit at the end of that match with Roman Reigns.
Yeah, but if that's the case, I think LA Knight has to get himself involved back with the bloodline. I don't think Solo reaches out to anybody in the way of starting a feud for himself. I think the feud has to come to him. I still think he's behind Roman's back. I'm saying that in quotations. I genuinely think Roman will be turned on by Solo Sikoa. Maybe that's when he loses the title and Solo Sikoa is still in the... Yeah, exactly. I think there's so much to be said with Solo branching out of the bloodline, taking Paul Heyman with him, and being the new front guy, and Roman kind of riding off into the sunset. Because, I mean, let's be honest, Roman's kind of getting up there in age too. He still puts on incredible matches.
Hey Siri, how old is Roman Reigns?
41.
38.
Dang it. Ooh, that's actually still kind of young.
He's still got some time, but you never know what he's going to do. And obviously, I would assume he's going to take a big break after this title run. I mean, I know he's not wrestling as often, but he's still the champ. So he's going to need some rest. Kyne also goes on to say if Cena retires now, Solo has an amazing solo career built now, especially if he can use the I retired John Cena.
Well, but also Baron Corbin retired Kurt Angle, so I don't know about that. Don't hear much about that anymore.
How's that working for Baron Corbin? No disrespect to Baron Corbin.
He's doing great things in NXT.
That's what I was going to say. I actually love what Baron Corbin is doing in NXT. Might be my favorite version of Corbin in his career, and he's been there for a while. But I'll tell you what, last thing about John Cena, I don't think this is the retirement for him. I think this is all setting up for something bigger. I think eventually when John Cena does return, whether that be at the Royal Rumble, whether that be late next year, he's going to go on a heater. He's going to go on a run. All of these losses are leading to one last push. And I know a lot of people have talked about this. Now that Ric Flair is in AEW, would WWE be more willing to give John Cena the record now out of spite? I wouldn't put it past the WWE. They've done stuff like that before, Ian.
Yeah, if Vince was still in control of the creative, absolutely. They would have done it by now. With Triple H, though, he is a part of the business. Maybe. I don't know. I think he still understands where Rick's situation's at. I don't think it would be in pettiness. It would have to be good for the business and good for WWE. I don't think Triple H would do anything petty.
Well, I think John Cena obviously earned it too, regardless.
Yeah, absolutely.
Putting pettiness aside, I think I could see him definitely still going on a run. Maybe getting that 17th title, taking it from Cody Rhodes or something, and then you can have a Randy Orton or something like that take it from John Cena. I think that could be good stuff. Or maybe Solo Sikoa is involved. And Kine also said Solo is built to be a Paul Heyman guy right now. If Solo leaves the bloodline and takes Paul with him, Roman's left with nothing, loses the belt to Solo at WrestleMania 42. So that is a long-ass reign that you're planning for Roman Reigns.
That would be Hulk Hogan's reign. I see why I did 42.
It would be beating Hulk Hogan's reign, which I think ends in September. Ryan Vogus, our good friend Vogus, stopping by. He asked, do we see Brock again before Mania? Maybe Solo versus Brock or Solo versus Randy, thinking of who they could put him against to capitalize off of this. What do you think about those two ideas?
I see where you're going. Kind of like a Randy Orton, the legend killer, when he was doing that and kind of killing off all the legends that were in WWE coming back. I don't hate that. I really don't. I just think if you really want to branch him off as a solo guy, well, literally solo.
He is a solo guy.
He has to turn on Roman. I think that would be perfect. But
I agree.
Again, it would kind of lean into a face because people want to see Roman lose.
100%.
So it kind of gets into that little balance there. So, but I don't think we're there yet. I think there's still a plenty amount of time, especially after WrestleMania. I think that's where we're leaning towards.
I do like the Brock shout more than Randy. I think it makes more sense storyline-wise, but I do agree with you. I think the next thing for Solo is to eventually turn on Roman Reigns. I would love to see Solo Sikoa versus Roman Reigns for the title at a Royal Rumble or at an Elimination Chamber, something like that, right before WrestleMania to heat it up even more. And then once we get to WrestleMania, Roman's all by himself. He's got no bloodline to support him, yada, yada, yada. Kine said Brock versus Solo in a street fight or last man standing would be unreal. Blood, weapons everywhere. Would be definitely something. So we do have a new United States champion as Logan Paul defeated Rey Mysterio, and what was a really good one as well. This one was a little predictable for us, at least, Ian, but I don't know how often we're going to have to say it, but I swear to God, after every single Logan Paul match, I continue to be more and more impressed by his abilities. Talk to me a little bit about Logan Paul and what you thought about this one.
I'm so conflicted with this man because I hate Logan Paul in real life. As a human being, he is a despicable human being. But the guy can wrestle, and he brings in so much money to the WWE, they're not going to fire him for anything that he does. So, besides that, that match was incredible. That was, if not the first match was my match of the night, this could be it too. I knew what was going to happen and still was blown away by the in-ring. I mean, if you're putting anybody in the ring with Rey Mysterio, you're going to get something special, especially if it's a social media guy coming into a ring in his, this might be his third year now? Somewhere around there?
I think it's about that, yeah.
It just speaks volumes to Rey Mysterio and Logan Paul's ability. I mean, and there was a spot during this match, we were texting again during this match. Rey Mysterio went for kind of like a sunset flip off the ropes and landed. He went short. Logan was smart and had the wherewithal to run in and catch him onto his shoulder. And honestly, Rey could have been hurt very badly. So I
also think Logan needed to be a little closer in advance for that spot to be there to get Rey, because I don't think Rey was getting halfway. But it's a mutual thing. I think Logan did exactly what he needs to do to make up for it. And there was a couple other times in that match where I think he kind of saved Rey from some things, but I think the strength of Logan Paul that I've been noticing, at least in the last couple matches, is that his pacing is very strong. Like, he can go and adjust to any style. The Roman Reigns style, which is a little bit slower and methodical. Ray, at times is going pretty slow, but for the most part, it's, a high cruiserweight style match. And Logan was able to adjust there, and it didn't feel like too much. Logan Paul with that U.S. title, you talked about it, is going to do wonders. Like, just imagine him bringing that on the red carpet anywhere, bringing it to a boxing show, putting it on his podcast. I just can't wait to see what he's going to do for that title, Ian.
Yeah, I'm just hoping that he's there. I didn't watch Raw, the full show this week. Actually, where is Logan signed? Is he technically a free
Logan
agent?
is a SmackDown superstar now.
SmackDown. Okay. I did not know that.
Because remember, the IC title's on Raw, so the United States is on SmackDown.
That makes sense. Okay. So maybe we'll see this tomorrow.
Yeah.
I would like to see him on a weekly basis, but I know that's hard to say with him. He's a busy guy. He's very famous, as you might know. But I don't know. I'm hoping they do good with him, and I hope he's not kind of like a part-time champion, such as Roman, because Roman already feels that, and he's a SmackDown champion. So 2 of those on SmackDown wouldn't be great.
Could be the new face of the Blue brand. We will see maybe tomorrow. But Kind said, I'd love Logan to become a full-time wrestler. He's so talented. Hopefully he has a little reign, maybe loses at EC to Grayson Waller. Elimination Chamber is in Australia, so I definitely understand that shout there from Kind. Grayson Waller obviously being Australian. But the last thing I'm going to talk about in this match, Santos Escobar showed up towards the end of it, but he was unable to prevent Logan Paul from using the set of brass knuckles to hit his knockout punch, score that win to become the champion. Do you think that was sort of planting the seeds of a potential Ray and Santos feud going forward? Because he took off and he left those brass knuckles right there in the ring.
Yeah. It was kind of weird. I didn't know. I need answers, basically. I really don't know. I don't know if that was
kind of a
mistake.
Cliffhanger.
Right. I don't know if it was a mistake. And I think they play
intentional.
That's what I'm saying. I'm
telling you.
I don't really know. I hope it's intentional, because Santos and Rey Mysterio feud could do wonders for Santos, especially if it culminates at WrestleMania.
Oh, yeah, that would be great. I love that WrestleMania match for him right there. And what if Santos Escobar is a guy to retire Rey Mysterio, too, passing the mask to Santos? That's something, too. Santos rocked a mask in NXT, so this is definitely something that could happen. Look at us. Just the brain's turning here. We're churning it up, baby.
We're thinking tonight.
Stir it up. Shout out to Red Velvet. She's back in AEW. She looked great in that match, by the way. I know that's off topic.
It was a great match.
Julia Hart, too. Fantastic. But shout out to Logan Paul becoming the new United States champion. SmackDown's definitely going to be a doozy, especially because of what happened here when Io Sky successfully retained her women's title against Bianca Belair with a little help from an old friend. Now, first off, screw the Saudi crowd, because they never get into any of these women's matches. And even if it's the 2 best wrestlers in your division, they still don't care. We get the return of Kairi Sane. That got no pop. Nonetheless, though, Ian, the match was good. I'm glad Io's still champion, and I'm really excited to see what's next for Damage Control and what the future holds for Kairi and Io going forward.
Yeah, I like the pair of Kairi and Io. I am worried for Bayley. I don't know where this leaves her. Oh, and especially Dakota Kai.
Yeah.
I mean, you have a 2-on-2 feud there, but we don't really see that too often with a 2-on-2 feud if it's not for like tag team gold typically. So it's in an interesting spot. I'm hoping that Kairi also gets some shine on what she has done overseas and how she's developed herself and why you should care about her now.
Yeah.
But
what?
Go ahead.
Go ahead. No, I don't. Go ahead.
The Damage Control situation has kind of gotten to a point where it needs a change. I think it's kind of fallen flat for me, if I'm being completely honest. Whether that's a lack of good feuds, it's not been a lack of good wrestling, because they all of them could wrestle.
3 talented women.
Exactly. So again, another feud that I need answers for, which is exactly what they need to do. I want to be able to tune in, and I should be able to tune in or have to tune in to the next show.
Every single thing on SmackDown is intriguing. I need to watch SmackDown to see what's the next step of this feud. And you talked about Kairi Sane. Just kind of going the route of Drew McIntyre, where he got released. I don't think Kairi was released. I think she might have chosen to step away when she stepped away last time. Reinvents herself, if you will, builds up her resume a little bit, and returns. I don't want to see the pirate Kairi. I want to see the ass kicker Kairi that we saw against Mercedes Moné. The best elbow drop in wrestling. It's not up for debate.
Bar none.
It's the top of the food chain. She is a real deal. And I tell you what, that SmackDown women's division, whoo! Charlotte Flair. You could have Jade Cargill. You have all of Damage Control. You have Bianca Belair. You have Io Sky. You have Kairi Sane. The list goes on, and there is some credible threats in that SmackDown women's division.
Yeah, I wonder if this is kind of culminating to a Survivor Series match with Damage Control and Kairi Sane, and maybe that starts branching out into the feud. It gives them something, and it gives us some time to get accumulated. Oh, that was bad. With Kairi Sane back into the main event scene. So
words.
I don't know. Yeah, words.
Kind said, to be honest, not much to say about this. I don't know much about her. She was wrestling when I wasn't watching. Yeah, she's most known for her stuff with the Kabuki Warriors, Asuka and Kairi in WWE. They were tag team champions. She is a former NXT women's champion as well. Very talented in-ring wrestler. And I believe her and Io do have history going back to their days in Japan. So very much looking forward to SmackDown, and very excited that Kairi Sane is back in the WWE, because I truly believe that she is one of the best female talents out there right now. Other than that, on Crown Jewel, Cody Rhodes defeats Damian Priest. No surprises here, Ian. It kind of just felt like a Monday Night Raw main event, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it had that feeling, but the thing I really got from this was the Saudi Arabian crowd loves Cody Rhodes. I mean, if this doesn't call me, I can't say that word tonight. If this does not end with a bloodline and Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, they're doing something wrong, because Cody Rhodes is the most over babyface in wrestling right now. There's no ifs and or buts about it. I'm kind of worried for Damian Priest now. I don't know what he's going to do with that briefcase, but I'm not sure. It was a great match. I thought it was an incredible match. Oh, gosh.
Kind said the Saudi Arabian crowd loves Cody Reigns. Ian, 2023. Clip that, Kai. Come on, I know you can do it. It happens. Ravi said, telling you next War Game. So Ravi's going all the way to 2024. He says, Kairi, Io, Asuka, Saray versus Bayley, Dakota, Mercedes, Moné. And I forgot the last one's name. I'm so happy Kairi's back. And Kind said Sasha Banks is not returning within a year. Yeah, I don't see Sasha returning anytime soon, do you?
No. I don't really see her returning to WWE.
Kind said Cena greater than Rhodes. All time? Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. What?
Right now, Cody Rhodes is better.
Correct.
Cody Rhodes is the more over babyface right now. I think probably the most over in wrestling, if not the guy that lost to Roman Reigns in the main event. So let's go to that main event here, Ian, where Roman Reigns successfully retained his title against the megastar LA Knight. This bout followed that same pattern as most Roman Reigns matches. It had those long periods of slower action with short sequences sprinkled throughout. But for some reason, it just wasn't clicking here the way it was in other feuds for me personally. What were your thoughts on this match as a whole?
I enjoyed the match, but that's not to say it wasn't predictable. I knew what was going to happen. We talked about what was going to happen with the not the false finish, but the finish with the ref getting distracted and
gotta have a ref
outside interference. So I don't necessarily have a problem with it right now. I think that's kind of, again, we hate Roman for winning that way.
For being a heel.
Yeah, exactly. He's doing his job well. And if we keep hating it, it's going to keep happening, because that's how you get heat. Brother.
Here's the thing. Last WrestleMania, I would say there's probably 40% of that crowd wanted Roman Reigns to beat Cody Rhodes. Yeah. Going into next year's WrestleMania, I guarantee you it's going to be 90% Cody Rhodes. There's going to be some Roman guys. I'm always going to be a Roman guy, but Cody Rhodes has to finish the story. And that was the benefit of Cody not winning last year at WrestleMania. I hated it at the time. I thought it was idiotic. But looking at it now, I think it was probably the right call, wouldn't you say?
Very much so. If Cody Rhodes would have won, it could have fallen flat so quickly, and Cody Rhodes might have been a mid guy by now. Who knows? That's saying a lot, but Cody Rhodes is a chase guy. If he chases the title, you are going to love him. I am worried about if he does win the title at WrestleMania. I'm not even going to say he's going to. I think he
we
should.
don't know for sure.
Exactly.
We really don't.
This thing could keep going on for 4 more years. It might reach Bruno Sammartino's level, but I don't think it's going to happen. I hope not.
Let's hope not. Yeah, let's hope not. Kind said Mania, Roman versus Rhodes. Cody wins. Confetti comes down. Orton comes out to congratulate him as he used to be his protege in Legacy. Ends up punt kicking Cody. Sets Randy's retirement feud. Oh man, you can't ruin Cody's moment like that. Though.
That was the exact thing I was going to say.
I do like it though. I do like it, but Cody has to have that moment to himself. Roman wins. Acknowledge your tribal chief. Kind says another hype train has been derailed by Roman. LA Knight can go back to Max Dupree now. Roman asserted dominance. And I was going to ask you that question because we talked about the possibility of LA Knight still going to be over no matter what happens here. Do you think even with the loss he comes out of that as a bigger star, or do you think he's just kind of at the same level as he was going into it?
I would say same level. I don't think he's going to lose any steam unless he gets sat on the sidelines for a long time. LA Knight is a special character. It is the closest we'll get to a Stone Cold that we've had since Stone Cold. I don't see any steam getting lost for LA Knight. I think his charisma will carry him to the top. Who he wins a title from, maybe that's a mid-card title first. But again, LA Knight's kind of getting up there with age.
Well, you talk about it. Who does he win that title from? Look at Robbie's comment. He said, let me talk to you. I'd love nothing more than to see LA Knight versus Logan Paul in a feud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just the meantime, what does LA Knight do? Maybe he retaliates against Bloodline. If it's LA Knight versus Logan Paul, that has to happen at WrestleMania. And you have to give them ample time to build that feud up. But LA Knight can't be sitting on the sidelines for that feud to kick off.
Well, maybe that's where he gets into it with Solo for a little bit. He stays with the Bloodline a little bit, you know?
Right. I think that needs to be something. As long as he is on the television screen, he's not going to lose any steam. He's not going to be a one-hit wonder.
Correct. I agree. Robbie said, judging from what we had when Logan and LA faced off for 1 or 2 minutes in Money in the Bank, those two will cook. And Robbie, I definitely agree with you there. Kind, you know what, Kind, I don't know why I'm pulling this up. Some people just shouldn't make comments like this, but Kind says, just thought of an idea. LA Knight goes back to Max Dupree and joins Alpha Academy Perfection. He doesn't like LA Knight. We get it, Kind. To each their own, I guess. But I'll tell you what, and you brought it up, we are reacting to Roman in a negative way because he's doing his job as a heel. And Roman Reigns is probably my second favorite wrestler of all time, followed by Seth Rollins at number 3. But I'm ready for new world champions. Hell, I'm even ready for a new intercontinental champion. I do enjoy the long reigns. I think there is plenty good storytelling that has come from these long reigns. But at the same time, when every single title is having a lengthy reign, I just want to see a little diversity, Surprise me every once in a while, Ian.
Yeah, the U.S. title really just changes hands, and that's pretty much the only title that we do see. It's only the mid-card titles. Yeah, the tag titles as well. I completely agree with that. If you are looking... let's take it this way, though. The Intercontinental title has never held such a higher praise right now. Gunther has made that thing into just as big as the...
World Heavyweight title level, I would say.
Exactly. Absolutely. And it's risen a different bunch of superstars to its level and is really boosted other talent. Roman's title, that's just once in a lifetime. That's okay. But I think that's kind of where Seth Rollins gets his hate. He shouldn't be holding this title for this long. The
workhorse title.
Exactly. The moment was fantastic. I completely agree with that, and I think Seth absolutely deserved it. Just going on for this long, and now it's just feeling too forced, and it's too many titles being held for too long.
Yeah, I think we're both on the same page there. Kind said, my only issue with LA versus Solo is LA Knight had to come on top of Solo, but Solo shouldn't lose either. He's got steam. He's the enforcer. Maybe a little match or two, but a big feud kills someone. Yeah, I know. I get where you're coming from there, Kind. That makes sense. Robbie said Moxley at number 1. Believe for the BCC, brother. That's right. And then Kind also said Gunther loses the IC title at the Rumble, wins the Rumble, and then wins the World Heavyweight Championship at Mania. I don't hate that, but the question is, who beats Gunther? Who's the one? Save that.
I don't know.
Put a pin in that. We'll save it for later because we do need to talk about some Survivor Series matches. But overall, give me a letter grade for Crown Jewel. Did you enjoy this pay-per-view as a whole?
Yeah, solid B. I think a B- maybe around that range.
B-.
Somewhere around there. The opening, like I said, the opening match was incredible. The United States match, incredible. The main event was good. It was predictable, and you knew what was going to happen, but it was still good in the meanwhile, mainly because the crowd actually woke up.
I did see a report, though, that LA Knight thinks they think that LA Knight might have reached his peak of popularity. I take that with a grain of salt. I don't believe everything I see on the internet, but if that's the case, I think they're wrong. I still think that LA Knight can get to that world heavyweight title level. It's not going to kill him losing the Roman Reigns. Everybody loses the Roman Reigns.
Correct.
LA Knight will be just fine. Good matches. The crowd killed it a bit. And Robbie, I think that's probably why I'm at a B-, because if the crowd was into those women's matches, maybe it's more of a B+ to me, but a crowd can really impact the way you view a show. And Robbie goes on to say that Kairi's return was completely killed by the crowd. Nobody knew who she was. And I'm like, Kairi had a good stint in WWE. She accomplished a good amount. I'm surprised that they didn't care. But then again, once again, you go back to the history of Saudi Arabia, the females. And we're not going to get into the politics of all that. So let's finish off with talking about some of the matches that we know are going to be happening in a couple weeks. Obviously, Survivor Series is on the horizon. It is happening at the Allstate Arena in a couple weeks. I cannot wait to be in attendance for that one. I got seats right by the entrance. So many rumors going on of Randy Orton and CM Punk. But let's talk about the specifics that we know are going to be happening. And that is, 1, Zoe Stark became the new number 1 contender after winning that women's battle royal on Raw. Even though Rhea Ripley will retain probably at Survivor Series, Ian, I still think that these two can put on a fresh and exciting matchup. How do you feel about Zoe losing at Crown Jewel and then becoming number 1 contender once again?
Yeah. Again, it's kind of in that little stint. The way I kind of like to think about it is like last night's match between Daniel Garcia and MJF. We knew Daniel Garcia was going to lose, but we wanted to support him because we know where he's going with his career. And I think that's where Zoe Stark could use this match and get really put over by Rhea Ripley. And I correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe they had some experience in NXT. Were they there at the same time?
No, I don't think their paths ever crossed. I think Rhea was out before Zoe got there.
Oh, okay.
Could be wrong.
That. But yeah, it's NXT girls. Rhea will know the mission that she's on and really try her hardest to put Zoe Stark over because I think she is incredible. I think Zoe Stark has that ability to be a top tier talent. It's just she hasn't been given the time. She needs to earn that time and earn the trust of the company to be the forefront of the women's division. So.
Zoe Stark in ring, and you saw it a lot in that Trish Stratus feud, is probably one of the best inside the squared circle. She could sell like any other, and she is very quick and athletic. So I think those styles clashing is still going to be a really good match. Obviously, Rhea's probably going to retain. But let's see what Kind says here. He said, when you look at Backlash, the crowd made it so much better, whereas Saudi, with the women, it just seemed dead. That's a good point. That crowd for Backlash in Puerto Rico was fantastic. Robbie hitting us with a War Games in the comments section, and he said he's glad Zoe is getting her chance. Realistically, Rhea will win. Focus said that you're still stiff doing the Daniel Garcia. You kind of gotta let the shoulders go with it, man. See this, people. This is why you gotta watch live. You gotta watch Ian dance. You look like you're about to box. Who are you squaring up over there, pal?
I don't know.
Oh,
I can't
settle down. We got 2 more matches, though, announced for Survivor Series. The Miz, he won that Fatal 4-Way to become the number 1 contender, and he'll face Gunther at Survivor Series. And I asked the question a couple minutes ago, but let me ask you this one specifically. Is The Miz the right man to dethrone Gunther, yes or no?
No. I think they messed up the timing with this. I get it. They want to give a face turn for Miz. Maybe he's on his way out again. We don't know. But this kind of feels just untimely. I can't believe that the Miz will go over Gunther and win a title. Gunther is one of the most hard-hitting wrestlers and superstars we've ever really seen. Miz has always been the kind of guy that will slide by and win matches with a
sports entertainer.
He's a sports entertainer. It might be incredible. It might be fun. I feel like it wasn't the spot for Miz.
I kind of agree with you. I still think there was more with Chad Gable. I really wanted to see Chad Gable be the one to beat Gunther, but I think they're going another route, obviously, with the Miz. Robbie answering my question, he said Miz is not the right man to dethrone Gunther. I love the face turn idea. Rushed into the match far, far too quickly, and I think that's kind of what you were getting at there, being rushed into this match. The timing just doesn't seem to be right. Kine said the Miz should beat Gunther, but he won't. I'll tell you the guy who I'd have beat Gunther, Ian. Sheamus. I mean, who else is, I don't think anybody else is deserving at this point. Anybody's credible enough. Like, if Sheamus beats Gunther can go on to the World Heavyweight title scene, and losing to Sheamus is nothing to scoff at.
Where's Sheamus been?
I don't know if he's injured. They're just cooling him off for a bit, or maybe they're waiting for that moment for Gunther. Right. That could be
WrestleMania.
What if Gunther retains and he does typical things that a heel champion would do? The ring is sacred. Nobody will take this from me. And then you hear Sheamus's music, and they have a stare down, and that's a Rumble match.
I just want to hear the lobster head music again, please.
Yes, it's a shameful thing. Yeah, we need that.
Lobster head. Oh, can't wait.
Ravi wants to clarify. He's not saying he can't dethrone Gunther. It's far too early for it right now. I get what you're saying, Robbie. That makes sense. Let's move on then to the final match that we know is happening as of right now. And you saw Robbie comment War Games, and this one is going to be a War Games match. We saw rumors of that being a stipulation at Survivor Series, and it's obviously happening now. You're going to have Cody Rhodes, Sami Zayn, main event Jey Uso, and Seth Rollins taking on the Judgment Day with JD McDonough. And I'm assuming that we are going to be awaiting a fifth member for both sides. Would you agree with me on that?
Yeah, I think Drew McIntyre is that fifth member for Judgment Day.
That's good.
For the good guys side, I don't know. Throw a name in the hat.
So I actually think it's not going to be Drew on that side. Maybe Drew goes to the babyface side, and that's how the heel turn comes about. I think the Bloodline is going to knock out JD McDonough. JD McDonough is not even going to be a part of this match, and I think Jimmy Uso and Solo Sikoa are going to team with the Judgment Day eventually. I think there's going to be a little bit of restructuring here. Obviously, you could have a Randy Orton in that spot. We know he is rumored to return. Or is there a friend from Chicago, like a CM Punk, that could slide right into War Games? Is that a possibility?
I don't think it's a possibility, but I want it to be a possibility. I still don't buy in with CM Punk coming back to WWE. I really don't.
That's fair, though. I mean, why should we?
If it does, I'll. Oh my gosh,
dude! We heard CM Punk chants in Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
Imagine what you're gonna hear at Survivor Series. They're gonna be there. There's gonna be talk. I don't know if it's gonna happen. I don't think it is either. I agree with you, but could you imagine? And I'll take Randy Orton, like I said too. But yeah, that War Games match should be fun. It makes a lot of sense. I guess we'll find out where they're gonna go with that. We don't want to get too much into it, because in 2 weeks we will be doing our Survivor Series predictions. And next week we will be joined by Erica Marini for some AEW Full Gear predictions. And hopefully Jim Tucker, our good friend Tucky, will be back. It's been almost 3 weeks, I think, since Tucky's been on a podcast. He's obviously busy. He's about to be a father, people. People forget that. He's about to be a dad.
It is true.
Oh, boy. Robbie asks, is Sheamus actually still with the Brawling Brutes? I think so, right?
Yes. Yeah.
I'm not sure, but I would imagine the roof would blow off if Punk returns. Absolutely. Vogus said Pierce's War Games was very good, by the way. Made it his own. It's still not regal, but it was very good.
Quick shout out too. Speaking of that, Byron Buxton on the mic and Saudi was incredible. I love
Byron Buxton. You mean Saxton? Buxton's the center fielder for the Twins.
I think I messed up his. I didn't know his name when we were texting each other too. So
the guy who's been on WWE TV for like the past decade.
Yeah, he was always.
He was he was a part of the original Nexus.
I did know that. Yes, I do know that now. I always knew him as Byron.
Look at that. The chat's already going crazy for next week. Robbie said Erica Macaroni, and Kine gave it Ducky. Oh yeah. So yeah, that's all that's announced for Survivor Series. Let's move on over to the MVM of OTM. We had a lot of good interaction tonight. I appreciate everybody stopping by, but to me, I think this guy was consistent. He earned it. Sure, he might have not had some comments we agreed with, but I think through and through, he definitely earned this one. Ladies and gentlemen, and new MVM of OTM. He goes by 4 letters. It's K-Y-N-E. Yeah, Ian, he's the new MVM.
Congrats to him, but in the end, the House of Gags always wins.
That's right. Well, you got a strap. Congrats, by the way. We never congratulated Ian, who is been spiraling out of control. OTM PLE champion. How does it feel?
I feel good. I feel like this is where I belong. I just needed that little boost from the House of Gags. I had the support of my boys. Always going to be in my corner. Hopefully, there's no heel turns in the future. I mean, who would ever turn heel? But like my guys, we're thriving in the House of Gags.
We definitely are. I got the NXT strap. Ian's got the PLE strap. And Ryan Vogus is one half of the AEW Tag Team Champions with Erica Marini, who won that title for the very first time. She's been friends. And Vogus, I'll turn on Ian eventually. At least he's not turning on me. Everybody put your ones up. Acknowledge the House of Gags in the chat. Show your respect to the champs because we are here. Ian, I had a fun time talking wrestling with you once again for episode 169. You got any final remarks before we sign off?
Stay tuned to the Main Event Wrestling Network because there's stuff cooking. Some blogs will be coming out if you are a reading type or even a typing type, and would like to reach out. That was weird. And would like to create some blogs and just kind of talk about wrestling. Again, content. We would love more content. We would love to show off the wrestling community. Even if you're overseas, we want more content. We want to represent the masses in the smaller wrestling community. Oh gosh,
look at that. The Vogus, we got Ryan Vogus, Dirk Vogus acknowledging the House of Gags. You gotta love it. And then Brett Haskell out of nowhere, CM Punk. Obviously, Brett Haskell being a big CM Punk fan. Brett, thanks again for stopping by. You gotta love Brett's random comments he throws in there, and he doesn't even watch wrestling. But also, don't forget, show some love to the show by going to the OnTheMarkWrestlingPodcast.com. Get yourself an ugly OTM Christmas sweater. Get yourself a hoodie. Get yourself a beanie. Honorary Mark t-shirt. Banger After Banger t-shirt. Main Event Wrestling Network t-shirt. Ian, you got to get yourself one.
I do. I actually do. Probably be getting that in a hoodie because I'm running out of hoodies. They're getting a little small on me. So,
as our co-host would say, it is a great time to be a wrestling fan. Thank you, everybody, for watching, and thank you for listening to the On the Mark Wrestling Podcast.